Hey guys, welcome to my series about middleware. The last video was about importing sounds and organization, which is only the beginning. But the reason why we use middleware is so we can create dynamic audio. The word dynamic can have a lot of meanings, but basically it's something that doesn't stay the same, or you can say changes over time, or just implies a variation. So today I'm going to cover topics like randomization, creating a sequence of sounds, and how to switch between sounds if you need, for example, footsteps on different surfaces. In Fmod, I'll show you how to use multi-instrument and the options for randomization. Also, I want to talk about a 2D action event, which is a feature that not much people know what it is. For last, we'll also cover different types of parameters. So I opened my last project that I used for my first tutorial, and I will add more sounds to it. So first thing, it's going to be how to create footsteps for different surface. I know that's like a really famous topic and you can find it really easy on YouTube, but I feel like there are a lot of ways of doing that, and I'm going to show you the way I do it. So first I'll start to import my sounds, and I'll hit Command 3 and open the Assets folder. I'm also going to open my Finder, and I'm going to import my footsteps folder, which has 3 types of surface. Let's import it to my level. Okay, now that I have my sounds in my assets folder, I'll start to build my events. So in my level, I want to create one event called footsteps, and I'm going to use a 2D timeline event for it, and later on we're gonna cover what is a 2D action event. I'm gonna name it footsteps. So as you can see, I have 4 different variations of sounds for each type of surface. Before adding my sounds to my timeline, I'm going to create a new parameter. To do that, I'm going to click on the plus sign next to my timeline, and I'm going to choose new parameter. First, I'm going to name it surface. And as you can see at the top, I have those 3 types of parameters that are kind of presets in Fmod. So I'm going to choose, for this case, label, and I will explain why. So besides a value, for label, I can also write a name, or like in programmer, they say a string. So it's gonna be easier for me to identify which one I'm using. So I've created those 3. There are the types of surface that I'm using. So now that I have these variations, I'm going to import my sounds. First one will be grass. So I'm gonna just select all together by clicking one, holding shift, and clicking the last one, dragging to my timeline. That will create a multi-instrument right away. So in my concrete section, I'm gonna do the same. And the last one will be water. Alright, so about the parameters, we have 3 types: continuous, discrete, and label, which is the one I'm using. Like I said, I can use names or strings for this one, but for the first one, we are going to work with numbers, right? And we can use floating point numbers. That means decimal numbers. So if you want to if you want something to change in a very fine gradations, this one is gonna be good. Discrete is basically for number, but it's an integer, or that means a whole number. So it's great for variables that increase and decrease in a fixed size, right? Just so you can see, I'm going to create a new parameter, but it's going to be continuous. So as you can see, this one can go from 0 to 1. And I'm going to create a new one, but this time discrete. Alright, so the discrete just increase in whole numbers like we said before, right? So yeah, of course you can use those tools for what we are doing right now, but I feel that it's nice to have the label one instead, right? Okay, so let's test it out. Here I have my grass sounds. As you can see, I have a playlist with 4 different sounds. So I'm gonna hit play on my keyboard. We have 2 main types of playlists. We have shuffle and randomize. So when I use shuffle, that means the sounds are gonna play in a random order, but they are not gonna repeat. So that means if I play 1, 3, 4, and 2, the last one is not gonna play again, right? So I'm gonna have a different order every time. So, but when I play randomize, I can actually hear the number 1 for a couple of times before moving to number 2. So let's test that out. Right, so let's test shuffle now. Alright, so another option that you have, besides adding new sounds to the playlist, you can randomize the pitch of those sounds, which will create even more variation. So if I hold down Option and drag up my mouse, I can choose between a range. Then I will randomize my pitch in cents, I believe, and that can go down or that can go up. So let's play it. One option that you have is to just drag the pitch down or up, right? Let me remove this range. If I remove this range, I can just drag the pitch up or down and just change all the sounds to a higher pitch, let's say. For those kinds of sounds, it's nice to create more variations. So I will recommend to create a small range. The last thing I'm going to show you is the sequential. So we have 2 types, local and global. So if I press on my loop button and click play, but let's say if I change the number here to 2, it's just gonna play 2 sounds. Now let's change 3. And only 4. Alright, so remember, if I leave it in infinite, it's gonna play non-stop. So as you can see, there's kind of a bug that happens. The first time I play it, the sound actually stopped it, but it was not supposed to. But I guess that's a bug in Fmod, and I don't know why it happens, but that's what it means. So the global scope basically works in the same way, but instead of starting from the beginning, it's gonna start from the last one that it stopped. So I'm gonna try to show you. So I stopped it in number 3, right? So let's play it again. Okay, so the first one was number 4, right? So both are sequence, but the local one is gonna respect the order, and the global, it's gonna begin from the previous sound, right? For finishing up, I'm going to talk about an event called an action. So I'm gonna create a new 2D action event. I've seen a lot of people talking about that on forums and asking what is it. And I also didn't know what it was until I researched a little bit, and I understood it's not something that you need it, but it's something that they create if you want to use it. Let's say I'm gonna create here just a trial sound effects, and as you can see, it looks very different from a normal event timeline. That's because it doesn't have a timeline. I'm gonna drag one of those test sounds to my action. When I decided to create a parameter sheet, you can see that Fmod creates a new tab, but my action is not gonna be part of this tab because actions are events that are, in Fmod words, just are gonna simply be played, but they don't involve any automation, alteration or change in time. But what I can do here is to, let's import more sounds. I have those 3 sounds, and when I hit play, they are gonna play in order. So if you wanna create a sequence sounds, I would say that's the easiest way in Fmod. Also, if you add another action sheet, you can see that you have the same format as the previous one. And let's say I'm gonna add more sounds here, just randomly stuff. And when I hit play, you see what's gonna happen. So what happened is those 2 sounds they summed up with the first tab. So you can add a lot of tabs that will be like blenders, right? You're just laying up different sounds. Now I'm in Wwise, and I opened the last session that I used. I'm going to start by adding the footstep sounds here. So as you know, the right place to add sound effects is the actor mixer hierarchy, and I want to add the sounds to my sound effects player work unit. So I'm gonna press Shift I, and I'm gonna add a folder. So here I have my footsteps folder. I'm gonna choose this one, and right here I can decide what I'm gonna do with it. So let's say for footsteps, what we want to use is the switch container. So when I choose the switch container at the first folder, then he's gonna choose the random container for the subfolders, which means the sounds inside those subfolders are gonna be randomized, right? And we're gonna have a look at the switch container. So let's import those sounds. Right, so as you can see here, I have a switch container with 3 random containers. So let's try it out by just playing the first one. Second one, grass. Third one, water. Yeah, so when you click on the containers, you can see that we have a general settings here. And we can do the same variation in pitch that we did in Fmod by enable this button here. We just have to click on this dot 2 times, hit the enable, and we can choose a value for it. I was messing around with it, so let's choose something like this. So when we hit play, it might be hard to hear because it's a subtle thing. We don't want it to be very to stand out too much. Here in the play type, we have the same options as Fmod. We have the standard and the shuffle. So one thing that if you don't know what something do in Wise, you can click towards it and it's gonna give you a help view here. And so we have definitions. So it's the same thing, but if you didn't watch the previous Fmod video, I have I'm just gonna say that the shuffle prevents the last object to be repeated. You also have the sequence option here, but you can see if I choose this one, it's gonna change my symbol here. That means I'm using now a different container, which is a sequence container. So the sounds are supposed to play in order. But if you see, I'm gonna hit play my transport control here, and it's not working. So it's not working because when we create a sequence container, we have to populate the playlist here. So I'm going to do that in a moment. So let's focus and use random for now, and I'm gonna choose shuffle. So let's go to the switch container to have a look. The switch container has this option here, which is like a group. So for that to work, you can see that I hit play and nothing happens. So for that to work, I have to create a group. I don't have a group right now, so I'm gonna create one, and I'm gonna name it surface. This is like a parameter in Fmod, but in Wise it's called game sync. So if we come here in this game sync tab, we can see that we create a surface switch, but now we have to create switches for the different types of surface that we have. So we have grass, we have concrete, and we have water. So going back to my switch tab, I see here now that I have some objects, but those are still empty. So what you have to do is basically drag down the containers to the appropriate object. So now I guess we can play our switch and we're gonna listen to the sound that is assigned here, right? If we change, because we are changing the switches, and you have an option you have an option in Wwise to choose a default switch, and you can choose between those trees, and I'm gonna choose concrete. That means that if the programmer didn't choose a default value for starting, we are making sure that some sound is going to be heard, right? The last step is to create an event for the footstep switch group. So I can just right click and I can choose new event, play. So I'm just gonna rename it as footsteps. As you can see here, actually I'm gonna remove this S, I don't think I need it. As you can see down there, I have a new event that is playing. So now I'm ready to implement that in the game. Just gonna drag this to my sound effect player. Actually, the last step is to generate a sound bank, but let's talk about this later. I'm gonna go back to my audio tab and let's try a different container for now. So in my sound effect player, I'm gonna hit Shift I. I'm gonna import the test folder, and let's say I wanna a blend container. So what's that? That's important. See what's gonna happen. Now I have a blender container. Let's hit play. So yeah, guys, what is happening is that everything's playing together, right? That's all that happens, and you have some options here to change the volume if something is too loud. You can change the pitch. You can even enable a pitch variation for some sound, like I showed you before. So we can even grab one of these sounds and choose initial delay for it. So let's say 3, the unit here is seconds, so I'm gonna delay the last one about for 3 seconds. So let's play it now. So we use a switch, we know what is a random, you use a blend, and let's use a sequence now, which is like kind of obvious what it is. So now let's rename test 2. I'm not really like focused on what type of sounds I'm dragging, because I just want you to know the mechanics of it, and like you can imagine how you can use that in your specific project, right? So later on we can do some tests with things that examples, more concrete examples for specific games. So okay, this time I have created the sequence container first, and I'm gonna add some files. Go to my sounds. We're just gonna add those 2. Import. So let's play it. Okay, so it doesn't play because I have a playlist, and I have to define which sound is gonna play first. So I'm just gonna drag my radio tune, and then I'm gonna drag my race car. So let's hit play now. Okay, why I didn't play the race car? It's because in my play mode I choose step, so I have to choose continuous to keep it playing. Let's do something. Let's change the order here. Actually, I choose like some long files, which is like bad for an example, but it's okay. Let's try it again. I choose continuous, and we can choose loop or not. So it's gonna now it's supposed to play 1 and 2 and stop, but we can also choose loop, and it's gonna keep going 1 2 1 2. So let's choose loop for now, and let's play it. Yeah, so that's all I'm going to talk about it today. As you can see, there are a lot of things and details that we can cover. Let me know in the comments if you have any preference for Wwise or Fmod, and if you want to cover a specific type of subject, let me know too. And that's it, guys. Thanks for watching.